All right. I think we're live. Let me check on YouTube because I'm using Restream, as everyone can see in the top right. I'm not paying for it because I'm cheap. Let
I
me
don't
make
blame you,
sure we're
man.
live.
These are
I
expensive
don't. Yeah,
nowadays.
I try not to pay for anything ever. Like like groceries. All right. Yep. We're live. All right.
All right, we're live.
All right. You guys know him. You love him. I hope.
I
Julius
hope.
Freeman, Lucid Production Comics podcast. One of the first guys that we met in the scene that was super interesting to the point of like, oh, we can talk to this dude about anything outside of comics as well. Like,
Yeah. Well, I'm
that's what
glad. I'm
really
glad.
well, that mean we met through a weird circumstance. It happened like somehow. I don't even know how, man, because I saw a debate you hosted,
Mm-hmm.
watched it because it was an interesting one. I made some comments on it, and then you had Josh and I on, and it was like one of our favorite ones we ever did. And I was like, oh, this guy actually like you can actually talk things with him outside of like the Flash.
Yeah.
And I don't
Right.
mean it mean, but like that's just kind of rare in the comic scene a little bit, where either people can't or they don't want to. And either way, with me, that's kind of lame. So I was
Mm.
like, oh, I'm gonna keep an eye on Julius, and we've talked back and
Thank
forth a
you.
bit.
Yeah, thank you
But
for that. Appreciate it.
well, yeah, man, like I've been wanting to have you on ever since the interaction, and you sent me your book. You sent me the first one and the ash can.
Mm-hmm.
Now I'm gonna try to pull it up. I hope I don't boomer this. Let me see. Share screen. Allow. Uh, share this window. There we
There you
go.
go. Woo.
Yep. All right. Let me just close all the unnecessary stuff. Okay. So I have read the Ghetto Dragon book one and the ash can. What's really interesting is that the ash can chronologically takes place after book one, correct?
Correct. Yes.
Okay, and we'll go into it in just a second. Like, I had you on here because I wanted to talk with you as a person, but you've got something up, so let's sell it as well.
All right, let's do it.
If you guys haven't backed this, you need to. We'll go through it, step by step, the traditional way of shilling. I do it myself for my stuff. But Julius, I wanted to talk with you first, man. Like, you're an interesting guy. We've talked a little bit, but I've never really got to sit down and talk with you. So,
Right. Yeah.
who are you?
Well, my name is Julius Freeman. I'm been an aspiring comic book writer for a long time now, and I have other interests. I'm a big, huge history nerd. I love history, American and world history. I try to study as much as I can in my free time. Also, for those of you who may not know or may know, I'm a wrestling nerd. I love watching pro wrestling. It's probably the closest thing to a male soap opera that I can enjoy. I've been reading comic books since I was 13. I really dove deep into philosophy for a lot of years in my 20s, and so maybe that's why I was able to converse with you, outside of comics, because I find other subjects interesting to talk about as well. And so the idea when I created I'll let me backtrack a bit. So I started reading comics since I was 13 and avidly collected comics since I was maybe about 21 when I started slowing down and started realizing, oh crap, at this rate, I'm going to have like a whole warehouse full of long boxes full of books at some point if I don't watch out. So slowed down a bit, and it wasn't until I read V for Vendetta when I really a switch went on in my head of, wow, like comic books can be more than just superheroes. You could do a lot more with the medium, the storytelling medium, because it's a story I like to tell a lot. Is I'd never read V for Vendetta before. I knew who Alan Moore was. However, I didn't know that the story was written in the pure British style of English. So it was really tough for me to read the first time around. And so I thought I had wasted my money. And of course, that same night I had insomnia, couldn't sleep. And so I thought, okay, I'll just pick this book up again, and this book will put me back to sleep when I start reading it. But then when I got through the first few chapters of this, I guess at the time I thought overwritten prose that Alan Moore wrote for V for Vendetta, I started to like it more and more the more I read it. And then eventually it got to the point where I was at the edge of my bed reading the book, finishing one sitting. And after that, I did some research and realized, wait a minute, this wasn't, DC Comics didn't task Alan Moore and David Lord to make this book. They actually just got together by themselves and developed the story and put it together and sold it. And that was it. That was the switch that went on. I was like, well, heck, if Alan Moore was able to do it, well, I love comics. I want to tell stories. I love movies and novels and, you know, media and all that stuff, art. So I gave it a shot. And ever since then, I've been
comparing yourself to Alan Moore is dangerous.
Oh yeah, it can be in some circles. Yeah,
in indie comics.
I'm not making that mistake, but no, Alan Moore was definitely a huge influence on me, no doubt about it. But not in the sense
you read a great
of
Substack about that story.
I did, yeah, I did. Oh, you read that? That's right, you read that. Don't thank you for reading that.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, it's one of those things where after that I really started to appreciate the medium itself as the best. I in my opinion, still to this day, the best medium to tell a story outside of movies and TV and every other medium that stories are told. And so ever since then, man, I've just been trying to leave my mark. And indie comics is the way to go. And thankfully, crowdfunding has helped a lot of us indie creators who have been struggling to get noticed by, you know, Image Comics, Dark Horse, or any other small press publishers. It's a great way to find an audience outside that web of system that they have there in the mainstream. And that's pretty much sums up the comic book story. My life story is still, you know, I'm still in the middle of all that.
Well, if you don't mind me, and I'm not trying to dox you, but how old are you, Julius?
I'm 42.
Okay. That's what I was thinking. I was thinking 38 to 42, 43 range because you write like it. And I mean that in a compliment way. A lot of people you can read and you can tell they're younger.
Right.
You can tell, especially by the dialogue, that they're younger. And as I was reading yours, and I was reading the dialogue and the monologue, because you have a very strong monologue going out throughout the entire series. I could tell like this is a guy that actually knows people, particularly has known a woman before. Like a lot of young guys that can't write women.
No, you're right. You're absolutely right. Some can't. Yeah.
They write basically anime girls. You can tell when something comes from basically consuming other art and when something comes from someone knowing an actual person.
Exactly. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, and that's something I'd like to dig down on is what other kind of writing have you done? Like it almost feels to me, and I could be wrong, of course, but it feels to me like you've done like screenwriting work before.
I have. Yes, I have actually very actively for a while. Maybe around, I would say maybe my late 20s, early 30s, I really pushed hard to get some screenplays, not just written, but, you know, selling them, selling them to Hollywood and all that. But then when that wasn't working out, I realized, okay, well, I guess I'll just stick with making comics. I was still making comics at the time. Still, I was doing more shorts. I was still developing, the ideas of like, maybe I shouldn't do long runs. I should do short stories. That way I could get my my craft honed as a comic book storyteller. But yeah, screenplays, definitely something I enjoy writing. I enjoy doing myself. I took theater for a lot of years in college, and I took a few screenwriting classes as well. And I just, again, that's another medium that I do like, but nothing compares to comics.
I agree. I think comics. This is kind of how I approach all art. Is if something frustrates me, I want to do it more and more and more. Which, that's probably why both of us are married, right? Like,
yeah, that's probably right. Yeah,
it's my thing with comics is it feels like it feels like they haven't been exhausted. There's still stories to be told. There's still layouts to be done. There's still they're still kind of cool. I mean, they have calcified, I think, in a good bit. And I think Image was a big part of that. I mean, I keep seeing a lot of things you see are basically like Image Light. And
Right.
when art calcifies, two things happen: is that people run away from it, but then new people come up and break that calcification and do something cool with it. And that's what I think is indie comics is good for. Indie comics can come in and say, this isn't a dead medium. No matter
Right.
how many people preach over and how many people make money off of preaching and whining about comics being dead. It's like comics have never been more alive. You mean there's no money in comics?
Right.
Like, okay, well, who cares? I don't judge things by money. Like that's a dumb metric to judge something if it's alive or not. We all, And when I read your work, and I'm going to read it again. I've read it twice actually. I somehow got a copy of. I think you sent it to me before. A copy of Volume 1, Book 1 before.
Oh, okay.
Earlier, yeah, because I remember reading it before, and I went through and I read the Ash Can first because I thought the Ash Can was a prequel.
Oh, I see.
And so I've read Book 1 at least 2 or 3 times, and I'm going to do it again. But when I was reading through it, I noticed that, to me, it felt like you were trying to break the boundaries a little bit of what a comic is, not redefine the wheel by any means, but it seemed to me like you had that kind of more approach of it was almost a cinematic in how it felt. It felt like a screenwriting, it felt like a screenplay, I should say. It kind of reminded me of a David Fincher type thing.
Oh, okay, interesting.
Yep, it was a bit gritty, I thought, and it seemed like, I don't know. To me, it felt like this moves like a film, and I'm having him on as well Thursday. But I felt the same way about Bancroft's The Lucent.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, when I read that, I was like, this feels like a screenplay in a good way, not that you're reading just black words on a white paper.
Right. Yeah. Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah, I wanted to pick your brain about that. I mean, you're clearly a play guy, a movie guy, I would guess.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yes, so, I was. My father always took me to the movie theater as a kid, and of course, when you're a child, right, you don't know what you don't know what a movie theater is, and so I remember the first time he took me to one, and walking into that theater, that darkened theater with this huge screen, and then when the lights go down and the THX logo pops up, and you're like, whoa, it's a whole experience. So. Yeah, definitely movies have been a major influence in my writing and the way I tell a story. And since Ghetto Dragon is a bit grounded, I felt that, well, I mean, maybe I should approach it like a movie when I was, writing the script for it. Because there's other comic book stories that I do have in the works that I have, written or developed in my hard drive. And those are very, I guess, sequential heavy, meaning I really want to find the right artist who's willing to experiment with me in terms of how we tell stories using the comic book medium. Mm-hmm. So Ghetto Dragon was definitely one story. I was like, I gotta keep this. It's a homage and a love letter to Hong Kong martial arts cinema of the 80s, and Bruce Lee, obviously. On top of that, it's also a love letter to the neighborhood I grew up in. Which was a ghetto area for a while. Not so much after I turned, I think it was around 19 when it started turning around. I think a lot of people who were causing trouble were arrested or were in prison. So all the troublemakers were gone at that point. And it was safe to walk, the streets at night. Because when I was growing up, it was always, when it gets dark, you come right home. You don't hang outside, because that's when everyone, the bad people will hang out and steal your shoes or your brand new basketball jersey that your parents got you for your birthday or whatever. And so and also my older brother was a active street gang member too. So there's a lot of stories he shared there with me, because once he found out that I was a comic book reader and an aspiring writer, then it was like, well, let me tell you some stories. And we sit down and he would tell me stories, because I kept being a comic book reader a secret for a lot of years with my friends, because it was an area where you were made fun of if you read comic books. You were just it was like shame, like in the Game of Thrones, the bell shame.
So this was before girls and milkshakes were on Instagram.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So it kept a secret until when I turned 18, I didn't care anymore. I was like, I've been in the comic book reader since I was 13. I just never told you guys. And that's when I realized my friends didn't really care. I just thought that they would care. But they were like, oh no, I love it. It's great. It's cool artwork and everything. But yeah, going back to my brother, he's the one that really shared a lot of these stories. And he really painted a clear picture for me too, because, when growing up, everyone thinks that street gangs are just these hoodlums who just get together and cause havoc. But he actually wised me up, telling me, no, it's actually kind of like, he's like, like those movies you like, those nerd movies, the Kings and all that stuff. Yeah, it's kind of like that. There's heads of the gangs and there's a council, and they meet to discuss the street politics of the area. Who's overstepping whose boundary, who needs a receipt for violating the street code, quote unquote. And so that when he painted that picture, that's when I had the idea for Los Valientes and the villains of this story, the Ghetto Dragon.
Well, you mentioned it's down to earth, and it feels like it. It's definitely got the grit. Your artist did a wonderful job, I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's the same. Is it the same artist on the Ashcan and book one?
No. Alan Fletcher is the name of the artist for the first book, and he, man, like I'm still to this day very just mesmerized how quickly he learned, because he never drew a comic book in his life. Never. I
haven't either.
Yeah. But like you said, there was something to his style that was like, this, I really like this little gritty lines. Like his lines are really almost the way I described it to him was like, it almost reminds me of prison art.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you've ever seen prison art before, where they use pencils and they just shade with pencils.
Yeah, I mean, not in person, thankfully.
Yeah, no, not in person. Yeah, but my other brother, when he served time, he would always draw those kind of like Mickey Mouse wearing gangster clothes, cholo clothes and stuff. And so I was like, I hit him up on Instagram, and I asked him, I started talking to him, and then he let it be known that he never drew a comic book before, but he was ready to learn. He was ready to jump into one because he was interested. And I was like, great. How about I hire you and I teach you all that stuff. And so he was like, great. So then what I did was I laid out the first 5 pages. So the first 5 pages of book one, I laid out thumbnail wise. I laid out the panels, and I told, okay, he needs to do this here, needs to do that there. And then when I gave him to him, I had this whole Word document of like 3 or 4 pages of explaining to him why each beat has to be a certain way. And then once he got that, he was good to go.
Yeah, so, reading it, you would never know someone had never done it before.
Well, that's what I mean. That's why I was still to this day just extremely impressed at how quickly he learned and picked up on it.
Well, I think both of the artists did a really good job of capturing the balance between like anatomy being correct and it being gritty and cartoony. And to me, that's what I look for in a comic. If I see a comic, and it took me, I didn't know this for years. I just checked out of comics for a long time because it was 3D assets, and I didn't know that.
Right.
Like when I was reading X-Men or X-Force, and art would just suddenly look awful. And then Josh finally explained to me, he's like, oh, that's 3D assets. That's why it looks awful. Like, okay. He's like, yeah, there's no dynamism. But reading your book, there is dynamism. And that's what I look for more than anything. Like I kind of have this thing. I'm not trying to be mean, but it's like, if I want to read Spawn, I'll read Spawn. I love McFarlane, but do we really need Liefeld, McFarlane, and Jim Lee style light? I don't think we do.
No, you're absolutely right. There's got to be a balance. Yeah, that's why I love, I don't know if you've ever heard or seen Rich Ayala's artwork.
Mm-hmm.
So we need more of that. I think we need more variety. We do absolutely need more variety, and I welcome all styles. It's just a matter of me and you being writers. We have to carefully pick which artist we want to draw the stories that we want to tell. And if we don't pick the right artist, then our story suffers because of it. So it's a thing I always like to say over and over again, and that is, you don't hire Tom McFarlane to draw Smurfs.
Yeah.
You don't ever do that because it just won't fit. You got to find an artist who draws cartoony, and it's okay to have both. So yeah, you're right.
I think
We
so.
need more. We need more outside the box. We need, no more Jim Lee lights. No more. We need a. I think a lot of artists, young artists today, what they need to do is, and I'm guilty of it too, is that yes, soak in the influences, right? The ones who you admire and respect because you just like their work. Adapt it, soak it in, copycat it if you must in the beginning because everyone does it. But after a while, start to go outside that box, because in the beginning, I'll say it right now. In the beginning, I wanted to emulate Alan Moore in my writing. I really did. In the beginning of my writing, indie writing careers, I really wanted to emulate that style. But then the more I did it, the more I realized, wait, I'm just copying Alan Moore though. Yeah. It's not me. It's not my expression, my pure expression of art, right? Of how we express ourselves artistically. So then after I got over that hump, then I started pulling away and going, okay, what is it? Do I like? How do I want to tell the story? And ever since then, I never looked back.
Well, no, and that's to continue on our original. You got to forgive me. I'm from the South, man. Certain words don't sound so good.
Oh no, no worries, man. No worries. I'm from Southern California. We don't say words right all the
time. Our original conversation to tie in with this, I do believe art is objective in that it is outside of us, but I do believe that there are different examples of objective. And what I mean by that is like a waterfall is beautiful, and a snail, like the design of a snail's shell, is also beautiful. Absolutely. This perfect comb. And that's how I view art. I mean, and that's kind of what gets on my, and like I can hold those thoughts together because that does make sense. But what I get really frustrated at is, especially in like the comic scene, like, yeah, I like McFarlane. I love Dave Sims, Cerebus. I like all these, and all of these guys are great artists. They are objectively good artists. Their art is just great in a different way.
Yes.
And that's not subjectivism. It's saying like, no, there is a standard. It's just you don't realize how massive like beauty is, basically.
Right. Absolutely.
And that's my thing. I mean, like I've got people who love Josh's art, and people who don't like Josh's art. Whatever, it's good. I don't see any problem with this art. I think it's great. I wasn't trying to say gritty in a bad way. I'm saying this to me, reading this felt like you were getting kicked like on the sidewalk, in like a good way. Like I think that's great. What I don't like is when I would see some kind of art that feels safe, and like going back to the 3D assets. I think that's what, to me, it's like auto tune in music. Even if you don't have a musical ear, you can tell something's off because nothing sounds like that in nature.
Right.
And that's if I'm not trying to ramble on, but if someone who doesn't know that, get a pair like of headphones kind of like this, and then put on something like a Taylor Swift song, and then put on like a Black Sabbath like original song, and when you actually put it together and you hear those vocals, you will hear that her notes are rounded in a way that does not exist in nature. And it's because you see what I'm saying. And then once you hear it, it's like seeing something in art where you're like, that's not how that is.
Absolutely. That's how I feel when I listen to Queen live. You hear Freddie Mercury sing live, and you hear the beauty in his voice. Yeah. And you can't help but just be mesmerized by the sheer power of his voice when you sang live. Especially live.
Well, compare that to like AC/DC, two completely different singers, and you could argue, of course, that Freddie is the better front man. Like, there's no getting
so no denying that for sure.
Their vocal quality are very different. But even though one's highly distorted and rambling, and the other one is like, Freddie Mercury, they're both awesome, and they both don't have that unnatural auto tune. And that's what I'm saying. Like, that's what I'm trying to say is like, your book feels like grit in a good way. I really respect it.
It really does. There's no auto tune in this. In other words, it really does come from. Part of it is obviously my own personal upbringing experience in that city, in that neighborhood I grew up in, and then the other second thing is, I wanted the reader to feel it. That's the thing. I wanted the reader to feel like they were there in that, like you said, the pavement where Matt is doing his thing as a martial artist, kicking ass and taking names, And and at the same time, I also want them to feel the danger behind that, because that was the one thing that my brother did tell me, is that things quickly escalate in that world. So it's a tit for tat world in that underworld, or that criminal world. Is you do one thing to one of theirs, you do it right back, and it escalates. It always, he said, it's like a ping pong game. It always escalates. One, you hit one, the next one. So for instance, what he used to say was, they slap you, we punch them. They kick us, we come back with the knife. They come back with the gun, and then we come back with the gun, and then there's a funeral, and then you repeat.
And it's kind of like a game of chicken to see who stops.
A little bit of a game of chicken, and that's what I want to do. I want to really convey that in Ghetto Dragon, is that sense of danger, because a lot of it stems from pride and ego. I'm not gonna let you have the last word. Hell no, I'm gonna have the last word, and then that's how it goes, right?
Well, if you let one thing slide, people think that everything will slide.
Exactly. There you go.
Well, that's what I enjoyed about it on the story wise, is the idea of that dangers of escalation, and the sixth sense of honor in it, of the sixth sense of like this kind of idea of game of chicken. Is like, okay, well, we'll go so far and see if he stops.
Yeah.
And then we'll go this way, and then his I'm not trying to spoil the story, so I won't do that, but there's a scene where his father has to basically explain that kind of escalation to him, of like, there's ways to escalate.
Yeah.
And there's proper ways to do this, and there's ways to do this. And now, and it is grounded, but there are some supernatural elements in there sprinkled in, I found.
A little bit.
Okay, like I said, I don't want to spoil anything or go into anything, but I liked that it was a very little bit. I thought that was a very classic comics way of introducing it.
Yeah.
I thought that was really good, because a modern writer would not have done it that way. They would have fumbled it very awkwardly, I would say, or they would have over explained it.
Yeah, exactly. And the idea obviously was to hint at it and introduce the idea that yes, that Matt is I almost spoiled it there. Because in the end of the day, the end goal is to create a shared universe with the characters that I developed within the Lucid Comic universe, which is Vigilant Fury, Reset Protocol, and Ghetto Dragon, and any other stuff that I produce after that. But it's still in the beginning stages. It's just a matter of how the readers react to it. If I start to push forward to it and see how they respond, and if they respond well, then I'll push through it and see if I could, like you said, nail it. Because that's the tough part, is nailing it, right? Because if you fumble or if you misfire, you miss the impact, right? That you want for the reader to have. But yes, there is some elements there that I'm hoping to develop as time goes on, if Lucid Comic grows.
Well, I love the name Ghetto Dragon. It's almost so simple and primal that it's impossible to think that it hasn't been found before. And those are the best names and titles.
Yeah, absolutely.
When you have to search, like someone has to have had that. You search it and they haven't. You're like, okay, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. I can't tell you how nervous I was, because I've had this story for like over 10 years now, and within those 10 years, like someone's gonna eventually come up with this freaking title, and I'm gonna be stuck with being the guy who stole it, from the other guy. But no, I mean, the heavens must be on my side on that one, because no one has ever put those two words together. And I'm surprised.
Yeah, there should have been at least 4 Wu-Tang albums already.
Something, right? Something. Even Wu-Tang, but not even Wu-Tang got that title together. So I'm happy I got ahead of it, because that was by accident. That was a pure accident, Ghetto Dragon. That was This was the first story that I actually had the title for it first before I developed the story.
But isn't that a wonderful thing, though? Because it almost like it gives meaning and purpose and birth to a story, is having the title.
Yeah, it helped a lot. Because normally when I write something, I usually get the title after I develop it, because then that's easier. But this one was just one of those, I guess happenstance or I don't want to say coincidence. Maybe it was meant to be, but I was in my apartment, I had my journal open, blank page. I was trying to come up with an idea for a story, for a comic book, and I heard some commotion outside. And I, looked out my window, and there was an alleyway where where you could look down. There was an alleyway right there on the ground, and there was 3 guys arguing with 1 guy, and it was obviously going to be a fight because the 3 guys were trying to surround them, and the 1 guy was like, "Hey man, back up!" He has his fist ready, and this guy either was the luckiest guy ever, or he was a trained boxer or something, because 1 guy rushed him, swung, boom, knocked out. The second guy came, swung with his left, boom, knocked out. Third guy actually hesitated for a while. He's like, "Oh crap!" All right, so he kind of they're doing the whole thing, and then he swung, missed, and boom, he fell, and then after that he ran. he just got out of dodge.
My brain always connects. So I was like, I could just imagine you like it's like a Simpsons shit where you're like you're watching him, and then you're just sitting there eating potato chips. Huh?
Yeah,
it's impressive.
I should have been eating potato chips, but yeah, that was exactly my reaction. I was like, "Whoa, dude! Wow, that's impressive," And he got out of dodge, because that's the one thing that my older brother used to always tell me when I was getting older. He's like, when you walk down a neighborhood and there's people there that want to intimidate you, just knock out the first guy and run. Just run, because you're by yourself. Unless if you're with your friends, then it's another thing. But if you're by yourself, knock out the first guy and bounce, because they're gonna chase you. And so then when that happened, I obviously I was laughing, I was chuckling, I was like, doing the whole, that kind of thing. And I was like, and I just kind of went like, I was kind of like Bruce Lee, Enter the Dragon. I was like, Ghetto Dragon. I was like, Ghetto Dragon. I was like, Ghetto Dragon. And I kept repeating the Ghetto Dragon. Oh, I like that. And I just wrote it down in my journal, Ghetto Dragon.
But I think is the difference. I think, and this would be a great topic to go into with some other guests too, is like that way that the title came. Like the first way you described it is you write something and then you get a title. That feels more like a screenwriter or book way of doing things.
Right.
The title first, or the character name first, and then the story feels very much like in the comic book tradition.
Absolutely. Yeah. And it did, like I said, it helped. It went through a few iterations, honestly. So the book that you read was not the first iteration of Ghetto Dragon. There was no yellow jacket with the stripe. There was no Valientes. I mean, there's still Los Valientes, but it was a different kind of gang. It wasn't what you see in book 1, Street Wars. It was the backstory was way different. The origin story of how he became martial artist was absolutely 100% different. The original backstory was that he goes to Hong Kong and he gets stuck there because China, I don't know if I'm sure you know this about 1999 when Britain handed over Hong Kong to China to pretty much govern. And so I kind of had the idea. I was like, oh, what if, in the parallel universe, China just decides to kick all the outsiders out, and whoever stays stuck there is stuck there, and our character gets stuck there, and he gets taken care of by an older a martial artist who was an actual student of Bruce Lee's dojo, and he taught him all the secrets, and then he smuggled them out of the country to go back home, and that's where the adventure starts. And I changed it because it was too similar to the new Karate Kid movie that came out with Jaden Smith and Jackie Chan. So I was like, okay, I got to change it. So
I think dropping it where you did, like kind of in the action established, was better. Yeah,
I agree. I agree too.
That's that thing where you land on concrete. Like I think that's the best thing, man. It feels, it does have that feeling of like, no, you're here, this is it.
Right.
And I think to me that's the best way to start comics. I mean, except it's not, if you're doing like Kirby's World or something, the idea of like the new gods and here's like entire biblical backstory. No, like just get to the point. Like
no, and those stories are also, if you have a story like that, it's warranted. Like give us the backstory because we want to know who these characters are, and I think Jack Kirby did a phenomenal job doing that when he did produce those stories. But this one was one of those things where actually I got that from Jim Shooter. The idea of starting, like, you gotta immediately hook the reader, and the blog he had up when it was active, he would write these like priceless knowledge. He's pretty much giving away free editorial advice on this blog, and I couldn't believe that. I was like, I can't believe this blog is not blown up yet. He's like practically doing what I wish colleges had courses on, which is how to properly write for comics. And that's what he did. He provided all this priceless knowledge. And I was, every day at work, thankfully I worked at a job where it was an office job. So I would secretly work. And then when no one was looking, I would go to the website and like read and take notes. So I could be a better writer. And so, thanks to Jim Shooter, he was the reason why I started the book one the way I did. And within the first 2 pages, right off the action, and get to see who he is and what he's all about. And then take the story from there afterwards.
Well, that's what's interesting to me. And like, I'm not trying to drag it on, but you're a writer. I'm a writer as well. And I try to have writers on because artists, they've got their space. They can, they can put a camera in front of their hands and do things we'll never be able to do. Right?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
but my problem, and I'm kind of articulating this as I think about it. And that's why I like talking to people. It brings new things out of you. But I grew up on, Adult Swim, late night anime and manga. Oh, not manga, but anime. And manga was like something you could kind of read online. But I do have a bone to pick with the generation of writers that anime and manga produced. It is still very ethereal. And that's the cool part about that idea, is that you can do anything in manga and anime. But we kind of view it through a glass darkly because there is a grounded foundational writing culture in Japan. They understand references and cultural things in there, and that we don't. We quite frankly don't.
Right.
And when you do a 2nd or 3 degree separation from an art form like that, something is lost, and you can sense it when you read it. This is 100% an American story.
Yes.
And this isn't me trying to be like, let's wave the flag, Van Halen, Panama, which I love. But you would not get this mix of culture the way that you've done it so eloquently anywhere else. And I think that's what's really cool. And I think that's what makes this a comic book of comic books. This isn't some like superhero idea you thought up that is or some weird wacky sci-fi. It's like, no, this almost feels like an American novel, like kind of like a Tom Sawyer or a Huck Finn thing with comic book elements.
Wow, thank you. That's a high compliment. I appreciate that. But yeah, you're absolutely right. You hit it right in the head. There's a Martin Scorsese quote that really, it was one of those things where I was just, casually watching a documentary about, famous directors or whatever. And the segment came up of Martin Scorsese. And, of course, I'm a huge Scorsese fan. I love his films. And this quote really resonated with me because it was like, I was just 100% in agreement with what he said. And that is, he talked about how when he was in college, him and his friends loved French New Wave cinema. They loved it. And he said everyone was copying French New Wave when we were doing our student films in college. And he's I'm me included, because I was like them, I was a huge fan of the French New Wave. He's like, but when I really got to thinking about what I wanted to be, or what kind of storyteller I wanted to be, or what kind of stories I wanted to tell, I realized I'm not French. Hence Mean Streets, hence,
He actually knew how to put an ending in his film, unlike French directors.
Exactly. There you go. There you go. So, and that always stuck with me because it was like, yes, that's true. Because one of the things about me, right? You look at me, right? You take one good look at me. I'm Latino, and I over the years I've met a lot of people who are very surprised at how patriotic I am about the country I live in.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of that is misconstrued as, oh, you're a quote unquote traitor to your race, this and that. And so I remember I talked to my dad, and my dad's full on Mexican, doesn't speak any English, but he and I love my father. He's a great man. I remember one day he and I were talking, because he and I talk heavily about politics when we were on the phone. And one day he got really heated with me because I told him that I'm not Mexican. I told him, I'm not Mexican, Dad. I'm American. And how could you say that? He started going off on me. And I finally told him, look, Dad, you came over here and you got married here and you had me here. You took me to the schools here. You took me to the theater here. What do you expect?
Yeah, I watched Bruce Lee films. Like,
yeah, exactly. Here in America, like you never took me back to your home country. You never took me to visit any of the family back in Mexico. My friends did. My friends have a more connection to Mexico than I do. When I went there to visit for a family's wedding, I actually felt like a foreigner in Mexico. And that's not disparaging Mexico. I'm just saying that's how I felt when I got there. The Mexican citizens there looked at me sideways when I couldn't speak proper Spanish.
Yeah.
So it was
there's
one
like
of those
what
things.
20-30 dialects of Spanish within
a
several mile region.
Yeah, exactly. So it was for them. It was like you don't know how to speak Spanish that well, and they kind of gave me like a side, like, huh. I was like, dude, what do you want me to do, man? I was born and raised in the United States. Like, I don't understand. So
you got a Baywatch shirt on.
Yeah. And so with Ghetto Dragon, yeah, you're right. I really wanted to showcase, I guess, that culture of that world, but not make it a centerpiece of the story. The story was the most important part. And the fact that you say it's a lot like like you said, Mark Twain and grounded and everything, that's pretty much on the money. That's kind of what I was going for when I was writing Ghetto Dragon. I really wanted to be a story that everyone can accessible to everyone who wants to read a good story.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to be Latino to like it. It doesn't discount anyone, because everyone, I think the human element of it is we all have a right to defend ourselves when our lives are being threatened by anybody. And I think that's a universal element that Ghetto Dragon has.
Well, not in the UK.
Oh, well, yeah, except in the UK, and here in California, you can't defend yourself in California, or else you are also just as guilty as the person who attacked you, which is the stupidest thing ever. Yeah, there's no stand your ground laws here in California.
I'm in South Carolina, where like they don't even ask questions. Like,
yeah,
like they don't. They just like, okay, well, whatever. Someone came to your property. Okay, well, they're dead, right? Like,
yeah, okay, well, okay, we'll see you. Have a good day. We'll clean it up for you. But no, here is the total opposite. I just wish there was a compromise, but there isn't. My younger brother, he had a spat with one of his ex-girl's new guy, and they got into a fist fight when he went to pick up his son. And so, of course, he called the cops, wanted to press charges. And the dispatcher or whoever he spoke to told him, look, if you're going to file charges, I recommend you don't, because they're going to arrest you too for fighting back.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother was like, what? He's like, but this guy sucker punched me and he tried to pretty much kill me. He did. He tried to kill him. And I just defended myself. He's like, yeah, I know, but that's the way it is here. That's the law here. He's like, did you keep fighting after you pushed him away? He's like, yeah, then yeah, you're gonna get arrested too. So he was like, okay, well, never mind. He hung up and took his son and just went. But it was one of those things where I learned. I was like, what? You can't even defend yourself here? This is ridiculous. So yeah, California kind of sucks in that department. I wish there was stand your ground laws here. That would have been nice.
Yeah, well, we could probably do a 6-hour talk on that.
Yeah, I know.
Let me pull this up. I like to do that near the halfway point. Let me make sure I don't boomer this again. Oh.
I like the setup though. I really do like this restream background here. Is really nice.
I like it too. I gotta figure it out a little bit, but
yeah,
so far I think it's been smoother than StreamYard, so it feels less ghetto than StreamYard. Let me see. How do we?
Oh, yeah, nice, very nice.
That shows a little bit more of your work. All right, Ghetto Dragon Book 1. Now I'm gonna play the trailer. I can't promise if the sound's gonna work, guys. Like I said, I've never used Restream before. So if the sound doesn't come through, I'm sorry, Julius.
Oh, that's all right. It's all good. It's all good. Bat says there's no sound. Sorry, Bats.
Yeah. Well, you should go to the page yourself and watch it and back it.
And back it. That's right.
I love the throwback style and the throwback music as well. Like you did make it feel like it was like a kung fu. Well, that's what's funny though is that you talk about these references and like of course like Bruce Lee and kung fu. It doesn't read like that though. Like I said, it reads more like basically like a gang story with some slight kung fu supernatural elements in it.
Yeah, that's like I said, that was the idea. I really want the idea here was to really develop the character and really get people to know the character a bit more. And honestly, it's an origin story in a lot of ways because the original idea was to start his story when he's in his 30s, because right here he's in his early 20s, and the story I really want to tell is probably more likely book 3 and beyond, because book 3 is when he's in his 30s. I jump forward 10 years after the events of what happens here in Street Wars, and also in book 2 I jump forward about 10 years and he's in his 30s and he's doing a whole I don't want to give away too much, but let's just say that's where the real adventure begins when it comes to the not supernatural, the martial arts story that I really want to tell.
Well, and again, as someone who's read this, what's really cool to me is it's a guy gets involved with the wrong people only for them to realize they've gotten involved with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
It reads very much like a Western, not in the actual way it's portrayed, but in that setup style.
Yeah,
that's how those old samurai movies and old like Westerns were. Like a tough guy comes into town, runs afoul of a couple of low lackeys. They run back to their boss. They come after him, and then it just ends up like being a tornado of destruction.
Yes, yeah, that's pretty much the sentiment for sure.
I love the black background. I've whined about this before. I don't like white space on comics. Like unless it's warranted, I feel like I'm being cheated. Like
yeah, no, you're right. I'm the same way, man. Like I do not like white background. I if you didn't do anything, like I took the black background actually from Warren Ellis and Brian Hitch's run on Authority when it was produced, when it was published by Wildstorm. I really dug that. I was like, oh man, that black background, that's cool. I never seen that before. And so ever since then, I told myself I'm gonna do that for Ghetto Dragon, just black background behind the panels.
I love is this a Bruce Springsteen reference? No retreat, no surrender.
No, that actually is a reference to a kung fu movie of the 80s that was released here in the US. It's the one where I believe Van Damme plays the bad guy.
Oh wow!
It's his first like film role. I believe it's called No Retreat, No Surrender. Let me look it up real quick. I'm pretty sure that's what.
I was gonna look it up, but I don't want to do it on my shared screen because I don't know what's gonna auto-populate from my last search. And it'll be the one thing that someone, probably Bat Sauce, like catches.
Here we go. It is this. It is this one. Here, I'll show you.
Nice.
I'll share my screen.
All right.
This should be. I did this yesterday, so I know a little thing or two of sharing my screen here. So let's see. Let's do this.
I don't know if I need to stop sharing mine or not.
No, not that. That's not the one. Screen 2. There it is. Okay.
There we go. Oh, look at that.
This is the film. No Retreat, No Surrender.
Man, that's great.
Van Damme plays the Russian communist, and he fights against the American kung fu fighter. Your typical 80s, but it's great 80s cheesy. But it's if you watch the movie beyond the cheesiness, it's a pretty good story. I like the story. See, look at that, wild.
Of course, he does the split.
Yes, of course. And there's a great scene in this movie where right before he fights the Van Damme character, he has a dream that he talks to Bruce Lee, which is pretty cool.
That's funny.
Like I said, cheesy, but pretty cool though. If you like that 80s cheese.
It's nice of Van Damme to play himself in a movie for once.
Yeah.
A real douchebag.
Yeah. Exactly. But yeah, if you guys are a fan of just watching cheesy 80s movies, I highly recommend No Retreat, No Surrender. It's directed by Curry Yuen, and that's the reason why I watched it, because if you guys don't know, Curry Yuen is a very famous Hong Kong martial arts. Oh yeah, that's the scene where he meets Bruce Lee in Bruce Lee's spirit. It's pretty cool. But yeah, Curry Yuen is the director of Yes Ma'am, a lot of famous Hong Kong movies, martial arts specifically, and I guess this was his attempt to cross over to America, but of course, obviously, it didn't work out as I'm sure he had hoped. But I still loved it. I still love this movie.
Yeah, this looks amazing.
Yeah. Like I said, Saturday night matinee. You just want to watch something just cringy and cheesy. No Retreat, No Surrender is the movie for you.
Let's get yours back up there. I enjoyed the chapter structure. I feel like a lot of books need that, and that's what we did with Apollyon and Kolga, was especially longer books. Which this is a big book. It's what, 70 pages, 78 pages.
It's 70. I think it's 72 total, and I'm going to add some pages at the end, so that way it could be 80. Nice round number.
But I really enjoyed the I thought, and that was probably my favorite chapter. Actually, I'm not trying to spoil it for anybody, but chapter 3, the way he gathers information was very clever. It was really cool. I enjoyed the step by step. Like, again, that's great. Another thing. That's another thing I think a lot of modern writers would have missed about writing a spy or detective story. Is they would have just jumped the gun with things. I really enjoyed the man. I'm trying not to spoil things. The manner by which he achieved what he did.
Yeah, that was tough. Honestly, chapter 3 was the toughest to write because I had never spied on anybody. I don't know anything about spying, so I had to research. I actually had to research and find out, like, okay, well, what does that entail? What does that mean? What does it mean to be, to conduct a covert operation, a one-man gang covert operation? What does that look like? And so I had to really put myself in the shoes. I was like, well, okay, if it were me, what would I do if that were me? What would I do to avoid suspicion? What would I do to avoid being seen or caught? What do I need to invest in, time wise and money wise, in the things I need? So it took that chapter 3 was tough. I'll admit it was a tough one to write. So I'm happy to hear that you enjoyed it. So all the hard work paid off.
Well, where are you? Not without spoiling, of course. You've set up some good characters here, and again, if anyone is watching this live or later, go back it's a good book, and I am impressed with how you set up the characters, the good and the bad. And it seems like, especially with the with book 1, then later the Ash Can, it seems that you fleshed out a lot of these guys in a way that a lot of people wouldn't have. And it almost, and I say this is pure American South ignorance of Latino culture. Okay, it reminded me of Breaking Bad.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fair. That's fair.
Because that's the best reference I have to like Latino media. Because I'm not gonna watch some soap in Spanish.
No, well, to be fair, I would say probably Breaking Bad was the best portrayal that wasn't cartoony of those characters that you're referring to in Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad and Speedy Gonzalez are the limit I have.
Yeah. And that's totally fair, dude. Totally fair.
But I enjoyed that mix. The Breaking Bad did a really good job of capturing the gritty, the modern, and absolutely, the pseudo supernatural very briefly. True Detective did that really well, except they went a little heavier into the supernatural possibility.
Yeah.
But that's what I read here is like the way you blended the old world and the new world, and it's in brief scenes. Like the supernatural stuff is in very brief scenes, but I think the way you did it was really well done.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
That was again, all very alert and aware of it. I always try to make sure that whenever I write a scene or develop a scene, I always make sure, do I need it? I would ask myself that question: Do I really need this scene here?
yeah.
Or if I do need it, how can I go about making sure that it's executed well, so that way I get the reaction that I want from the reader when they read it. So I'm happy to hear that.
Well, again, it's something, and this is again another topic I'm going to have with Bancroft hopefully later this week. Is you mixed the old and the new supernatural elements where it did not feel like urban fantasy,
Right.
Which is one of the worst combinations of words I've ever heard in my life.
Oh, really? You're not a fan of urban fantasy?
Urban fantasy. No, the best thing J.K. Rowling did was get Harry away from our world. As soon as he's a wizard, she moved him out. I was like, that's the best thing you did. And the worst the movies got in some places is when they started wearing blue jeans.
Hey, that's a fair point.
The second Hermione's in jeans, you're like, okay.
Gotcha. So you rather have the pure fantasy. If someone's gonna write fantasy, just go all in. Is that your
It's not even that. It's the urban I don't like. I don't want to see Starbucks and wine in the same place. And that's why I think you did it well. What you did archetypically, and this is me being a pretentious douche, I guess, like on Twitter I am, is you did the supernatural in primal dark places. And this isn't spoiling it for anybody, but you did it in prison and in the desert. That's what I noticed. And like it's the hidden places. That's where you have to do the supernatural and the forbidden. And you said you're Latino. Like I can assume you have some kind of Catholic influence, whether you're Catholic or not. It's like
yes, I have. I was raised Catholic actually.
Well, Catholicism. This isn't going off on a tangent, but the first time I even was in a Catholic church was this year, and I walked by it by accident, basically on a lunch break. Walked inside. I was like, "Oh, I've seen movies. You can just go in, right?" Like,
yeah, you can actually, yeah.
And I did, and it blew my mind. I was like, okay, this actually does feel like a special sacred place. It feels like the world is there and something sacred is here.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something as a Protestant you don't get. I mean, our churches are like strip malls.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah. Well, there's a whole history there of like, Protestants were anti-Catholic and Catholics were Protestant.
Yeah, of course.
And now we're not Anglican, so I don't know the whole history. But all that to say, you did it really well. Where like the way I see doing fantasy in an urban setting properly is the fantasy has to supersede the urban. It wasn't some blonde-haired stepmom in her house drinking coffee doing witchcraft or something, or like, and then like the tall, dark, slender half wolf man comes in and seduces her like the CW. This was a guy that we've established is a badass, is crazy, and he's instantly humbled by the supernatural. And it's in a prison or it's in the desert. It's like, okay, that's how you do things. You tier things in such a way where the fantasy and the supernatural, when it comes in, everything kind of bends to it. And I'm not trying to talk a lot, but it seems to me that you picked up on that archetype like really well.
Yeah. Wow. That's very observant of you to go that deep with
autistic,
it.
You say?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, it was. It's funny you say that because I was kind of going by instincts when I was writing those scenes. Mm-hmm. It just it felt natural to, of course it would happen in the prison, or of course it would happen in some place like a desert. Those scenes. And that's how I imagined, because I studied I researched the occult for a lot of years too, just out of curiosity, because it was there, So why not learn a little bit about this and see why it exists and why is it here and why do some people abide by it or live by it, right? So when I studied a little bit of it, I realized that a lot of the quote unquote rituals that they conduct is always hidden inside cave systems or underground, rooms in these huge mansions because they got all this money and most of them are people with money and power that dabble in the occult. And so it just came naturally to me. Like, oh, of course it would take place in places like this to conduct these things. So it's interesting that you went deep with that. It's impressive, to be honest with you.
Well, I think that's the stuff that matters. And going on this, like this image here, you've almost got, this is again my ignorance, I don't know if that's Mayan or Aztec ruins in front of him. To me, they're Bill
Mayan.
Gibson told me they were the same.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's true.
He said a lot of other things I can't repeat on stream, but
it's a Mayan calendar.
There's the Mayan calendar. He also, on the back of him, you have I guess R1136, what I assume is a biblical reference to Revelation 1136.
No, it's
okay.
It's a reference to a Crowley book. I think it's the Book of the Law.
Oh, I got you. Yeah, the Book of the Law.
That wasn't my choice. That it was the artist, Alan Fletcher. Again, going back to what I said about Alan Fletcher, it really impressive how he picked up on things, because when he got the script and description of Dreamer, I just wrote, all I wrote was he has a bunch of tattoos and make the tattoos look like he's a general of some kind of like ancient tribe, right?
Yeah.
So that's all he went with, and this is what he gave me. The design, the eagle on the back, the
Thunderbird, is that what that is? Or
I believe that's a Thunderbird, yeah. And then I really love the tattoo of that tassel, that thing he has in his shoulder.
Oh yeah, that's amazing. And with all that, what I'm saying, like you've got this element, and then you've also got the Catholic element on the other side of things. And the Catholic element is also kind of in the background, but the Catholic element, it comes in. It's not in prisons and it's not in deserts. It's when there's family.
Yes.
And that dichotomy is really interesting to me. And like I said, this isn't putting you on the spot, but I understand. Which I'm Irish Welsh. What do I understand about this, right? But like the differences between for lack of a better word, the pagan and the Catholic systems coming from that area, coming from South America. That is a clash of cultures that somehow kind of found a weird synthesis in things like Santeria and that kind of idea.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
So this is like that conflict you kind of mentioned about the American and the Mexican identity. Do you find that also in the religions here?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because you have, on one hand, you have a religion that does promote family values, right? They expect the man to one day, they expect the male, right? The boy, the child, to one day grow up into an adult, or, a strong male, to marry a woman and have a family and multiply. Right, that's the idea. Is to continue the values of the faith to your family and your descendants. And on the flip side, you have like almost like an upside down version of that, but it's pretty much soaked in blood. It's soaked in blood and fear, whereas the other side is love and care. And so that was the idea here, because one of the things that my older brother did tell me, which is a question I asked him one day when during the many sessions I had with him, when we would sit down, he would tell me stories. Was I asked him straight out, why did you join the gang? What prompted you to want to join a street gang when you had our dad, right? You had your mom, she was present. I mean, granted, my older brother was a stepbrother, so he wasn't my blood brother. Essentially, he was just a stepbrother from a different marriage. My stepdad married my mom, and that's how that came about. But so I asked him, why did you join it? And he told me straight out, because I had no family love. My dad, like our dad, he acts different with you guys, but with me, it was the opposite. He never gave me any of the kind of love that I look for, what every child looks for when they go for their parents, right? And my mom was loving, but she was absent. She would choose to party and go out instead of being with me. And so when I finally became friends with some of the hoodlums in the neighborhood, they showed me love. They showed me brotherly love for the first time. And I had older men, you know, who were a little younger than my dad or our dad, older than me, who would take care of me. You know, hey man, you hungry? Hey little man, you hungry? Here, come on, I'll feed you. And that prompted me to want to join it. And I was like, wow, it's like that's that's deep. And so and that's where it comes from too, is the idea of like that false family, right? Because they beat you up to get in. That's how you get that's how you get initiated into a street gang. They beat you up to see if you have what it takes. The second thing they do to initiate you is that you have to find someone, you have to find a victim and hurt them. Either beat them up yourself or not kill them, but beat them up to send them to the hospital to show that you're quote unquote down for the cause, for their cause.
In group, out group.
Exactly. So yeah, I wanted to play with that dichotomy, but of course keep it in the background and again focus on the story at hand, but leave it all in the background so that way the reader can pick up on it subtextually, hopefully.
No, I think that's great. I think, like I said, again, I think a lesser writer would have. First of all, I think a lesser writer, modern writer, would not know how to deal with those elements at all. I think religion is so pushed in the background. They would have inverted it somehow and done the opposite. I think, and again, and maybe this is more of a Catholic thing, but you even gave Matt the conflict of vengeance or not vengeance,
right?
Violence and not violence. And this is something I've had and this isn't self-promotion, but I would recommend go check it out. Like the talks I've had with Doug Ernst, the guy who does Soul Finder. Yeah. We've had some discussions about how Catholicism knows how to wield political power, knows how to wield force properly. They have the the concept of the good king. They had King Arthur and this whole lineage. Protestantism really does not have that and has never had that. And that's where a lot of this weird ideas of complete Christian pacifism kind of came from. To the point where several, or at least one or so in the past like 10 years, prominent Protestant evangelical leaders couldn't answer a simple question of what would you do if someone broke into your home.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, because that tradition is kind of gone. It's like, and that's like, Christians shouldn't be violent by any means, but this idea of a warring God was like a Catholic idea.
Yeah,
it was that physical actions in the spiritual world they coincide,
right?
And that's what's playing out here. I see in your work, and like I said, it's on the fringes of it, but it seems like that's what you have. The old, like the blood gods here, they have an avatar, they have a structure with Dreamer and the gangs.
Yeah,
and Matt is realizing, or not realizing, but he's the same daredevil idea of, like, as a Catholic, what do you do with that? How do you oppose that without becoming it? And it's like, well, sometimes physical force is the method by which the Catholic God works.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's one of those things of like natural law, right? It's how do you counter violence or violations, towards your person? And the answer is force.
Yeah.
It's force. It's the defense, right? It's the right of defending our property, which is not, people think property and they think houses and land, but property meaning your life, your life, your actual, the light within your soul that moves your material body on a daily basis.
Yeah.
We all have a right to live in God's creation, the material, right? The material world that surrounds us every day. And so when someone tries to take that away from you, you have every right to defend yourself from that kind of mortal danger, which is why I think a lot of people, not to get too political, but which is what a lot of people misconstrue or misunderstand about the Second Amendment. People think the Second Amendment is just the right to own as many guns as possible, when in reality it's like, no, the principle of that Second Amendment is that the gun or the firearm is the highest form of weaponry that man has invented.
The
and
great
that's
equalizer.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. A great equalizer. And this is the one thing I always told my friends, when I was active in some political stuff in college, which was, if man never created the firearm, I guarantee you the Second Amendment would have been bows and arrows if that was the superior weapon.
Or
We'd
sword.
be
Yeah.
having bows and arrows in our shoulder if that was the superior weapon. So it's a principle of defending your life against someone who wants to take it away from you.
No, and again, and not at the risk of sounding too political too, but I kind of touched on this on Twitter as well. I try to, because I try to approach things from I try studying extreme left and extreme right wing thought.
Yes, yeah, same here.
Because I think because like, and you kind of grow the modern world, you kind of grow up seeing the more left wing thought in school and academics. So you study the other side, you realize like, a lot of them are very similar.
Yeah,
but
for
that's
sure.
what I was thinking with all this stuff, especially with the UK and that god awful school shooting that happened recently. And I started thinking, it's like, if you want democracy, if you want equality and freedom, like how could you be against the Second Amendment? Because force is the only means by which you keep your rights.
Right.
And
exactly.
it's like, if you believe that everyone should be like more democratized, and you believe in like equity, you can't oppose the Second Amendment, man. Like, an armed populace is the only thing stopping tyranny. Like,
yeah, absolutely, absolutely, yeah, and that's the truth. I mean, that's again, going back to my older brother. He always would tell me, that they like, it was funny. It's strange because when I asked them, how do you guys make your money? Like, how do you guys keep the lights on for your gang, your enterprise, or whatever? And of course, he said, well, we would find houses and rob them and do the whole thing, steal them and pawn them and get money, or steal cars, that kind of stuff, or rob people. But the one thing he did tell me that did stick out to me was the houses we knew they were armed, we would not ever enter that house.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because he understood, just like everyone else who's used firearms, because street gangsters are not afraid to use guns. They'll use them. They don't care. They don't care where they get them. As long as they have them, that's enough for them. So that was very telling for me as a 20-year-old, right? And he's telling me, yeah, some of the houses we didn't hit because we knew the owner had rifles in there, because we found out because either it was like an uncle of a member of ours or whatever, or somebody from a rival gang, that kind of deal, or even rival gangs. Mm-hmm. If they knew, like, oh no, we can't go there because they're armed, so you stay away from each other. Like you said, the equalizer, right? The great equalizer.
Well, that's what was fascinating. That I forget the name of it. I think it was a popular documentary on HBO. Of course, it's like shows the worst exploitation of a family you've ever seen for money, because that's what all those documentaries are. Maybe it was Netflix, but it was about how this weird guy wormed his way into a family in like the 70s and ended up committing atrocities with like the youngest daughter. How it always goes.
Yeah, I hate that.
But,
gosh.
Yeah, and of course that's there for us to view and feel about at these poor people's expense. But when you watch it, the commentary, like, they're interviewing the guy and like basically said something like, "Oh, he did it all the time," and it was like, "Oh, if I thought the dad wouldn't put up a fight, I would just do it anyway." And it's like the thing is, like, if he ever was around a family where he like knew the father would like stop him, he'd leave him alone. And it's just as simple as that. Like, that's how criminals and animals think.
Yeah,
it's very primal like that. It's just if the risk outweighs the reward even slightly,
100%.
It's not, yeah, and that's 100%. That's what I was noticing about this, is that the less, I'm not trying to spoil your book, but the lesser guys, like the not lieutenants, but the henchmen, basically, like what do you want us to do, boss? Those guys, they fold instantly the second they're outmatched. And it keeps going up and up the line. It's like there's a little more resistance than the top guys. Like, no, I don't care what it takes. Like, that's why he's the top guy.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Yeah.
I love that kind of primal hierarchy that you got. And like I said, I'm not trying to harp on it, man, but that's one of the biggest things why I wanted to do this show with people, is a lot of modern writers do not know how to write. We and already established they don't know how to write women. They also don't know how to write men.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, you really do have to be a fully rounded human being if you really want to be a good writer, and not a great writer, a good one, you know, or rather a competent one, because it's if you don't have life experience, it's unless you're some kind of like a savant or someone who just is very
like Bob Dylan or something.
Yeah, or someone who's just extremely empathetic, you know, just very empathetic, deeply empathetic. You won't be able to harp on the emotional strings of the reader when you write your stories. And that's what's missing, you know, in a lot of today's art, is that the human element has been kind of pulled away from stories. And now most writers rely on mind-bending ideas that are out there, you know, and that's cool. I don't mind that, because we do need some of those. I don't mind expanding, you know, I don't mind, you know, thinking of, you know, entertaining a thought, right, that I normally wouldn't entertain. But you got to give me something human, which is why the movie Inception works so well for me. Are you a fan of that movie or not a fan of that movie?
Oh yeah, I think I stopped being a fan of Nolan with Interstellar, but that's another conversation.
Oh, okay. So you like Inception then?
Yep.
So what worked with Inception for me was that it had the element of the dream within the dream within the dream, which was something that I was like, whoa, how can I wrap my head around it, right? And that was for everybody. But what really hit it home was the fact that we all wanted to see Leonardo DiCaprio's character be reunited with his children.
Yep.
The human element. That's what made that movie. It wasn't the dream within the dream within the dream idea that blew my mind. It was therefore the movie or the story is fantastic. That's part of it. What made the movie fantastic and the story was the fact that we were cheering on DiCaprio's character throughout the whole way through, because we wanted to see him reunited with his kids because of what happened to him with his wife, what she did to her.
And he's not a good person. He's not someone you would cheer for. Except, and I 100% agree, because if you take out the family element, it could have become something like The Holy Mountain or any. I'm not insulting that movie, but I'm saying it could have just been like, let's explore a concept.
Yes. Yeah, and it would have been great, but he would have lost that box office, you know, the movie going audience, the regular movie going audience who just wants to just enjoy a movie. They don't want to think, they don't want to, you know, meditate on anything. They just want to watch a movie and enjoy it. And I think that worked for Nolan, honestly.
I think so. Now I have some. We don't have to go into it now, but I have some problems with Inception. The Joseph Gordon-Levitt plot line, I think, wasn't needed. Yeah, I don't want to go into it, man, because like briefly.
One day, you and I are going to have a separate show, because you know, your Man of Steel takes on Twitter.
It's always that,
it's like one of those things where I'm like, I want to respond to you, but I know what's going to happen. We're going to go in the back and forth, and eventually it's going to end with, we got to do a show. so I do want to, and just for the record, I am a fan of Man of Steel. I did enjoy it, but like you with Deception, I have my problems with it.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah.
But every time I see you post up Man of Steel, it's like, I'm always going like, really, Goffo? Really? That's interesting. I want to converse with you about that. I want to pick your brain. I want to do it back and forth to see that maybe you could sell me on some of the stuff that I may not like about Man of Steel, and vice versa.
Well, I think that's what's missing. Like I said, going back to the beginning, that's what drew me to your show. Is I think what's missing is people don't make big positive statements, and I don't mean positive as in good, happy. I mean as in statements that have like an intention behind them to actually do something.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, and that's how men used to discuss and talk back in the day. They used to write entire books like arguing with each other.
Yeah.
Like, and then they'd be drinking beside each other the same night while they're writing.
Yeah.
And that's been lost, and a lot of it has been lost because we live in this basically hustle culture where everyone's always trying to sell you something, which means
Yes.
everyone's always trying to sell themselves to people.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
it's like, no, like my friend Black Angus, who is on Twitter, I think his current name is Fem Sponge Bob Bussy or something like that. It's like it's SpongeBob as a femboy. We don't agree on half of anything, like ever, but we would love to stream together. He's always sniping my posts with some sardonic thing that he disagrees with, and it's funny and it's fine.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's I love that idea of like anyone can make big statements and the person's like, no, you're wrong. Let's talk about why
Yeah.
you're wrong and why you're right. So
Yeah.
yeah.
The art of dialogue has definitely gone on it's almost gone the way of the dodo bird.
Yeah.
And because social media, as the intro of my show always starts, is that people are so brazen and brave behind their phones and behind their screens. And that's, again, going back to my brother, rest in peace. He passed away about 10 years ago, but he provided a valuable piece of advice when during our conversations about he's sharing stories with me. And he told me that whenever another man disrespects you, in person, face to face, that is, or rather behind your back. That's what it was, behind your back. Like, he's going around yapping behind your back to your friends or whoever. He said, I don't condone this behavior, so don't do it. All right. So let me just get that out of the way now. I personally wouldn't adhere to it either, but I just thought it was funny because it came from him. He said the best thing you can do is you confront that person, that other man, and you slap him because he's a little bitch for talking behind your back and not saying it to your face. Because it's one thing when someone, because he said when the man tells you to your face how he feels about you, he said you respect that because at least he's doing it to your face. And at that point you can either do one or two things. He said you could stand your ground and plead your case about why you're not whatever he's accusing you of, or you punch him in the mouth and you fight. You just go a good old-fashioned fist fight until someone either falls over, and then if you win, extend your hand out. Hey man, all right, we're good. We good? All right, cool, we're good. And if you lose, take the loss. Hey, you got me, and you hash it out, you move on. But yeah, anyone who talks smack behind your back, you slap them because they don't deserve a punch.
Well, that's kind of how Josh and I have decided. It was a hard decision, but that's kind of how we decided to engage in social media. And it wasn't to be mean or cruel, but it was to discuss things like men as best as possible. It's like if someone you ignore 99% of stuff, because most of the stuff that someone says on social media is probably a bot. Like, let's be honest.
Yeah.
But when something is worth a discussion and worth addressing, you do it openly. You don't do it in DMs. You don't do it in group chat. You just go, hey man, here's why I don't respect you. And 99% of the time, I found when you say something very plain like that, it may go on for the whole day, but you can leave with like, hey, I discuss things like a human being, like a man. And like what I found is especially most people on social media don't know what to do with it.
Yeah.
Like,
no, most people don't in real life. In real life, even.
That's true too. Yeah.
They don't know how to deal with that. And that's it's one, like I said, it's becoming a lost art, the art of dialogue. And of course, emotions are running high. They always run high. And that's the sad thing about the modern day is that people would go from 0 to 100 like in a second if they read something out of context with your text, or in text form, your response, which is why I have a personal rule of I never engage in any drama, because things always get lost in translation through text. So that's why I made the show. I was like, I'd rather have you look at my face, look at my demeanor, so you can see that even though I may not agree with your points, you can see that I'm disagreeing with you with respect. I disagree with you. I respectfully disagree. Here's why: A, B, C, and D, and so on and so forth.
Oh yeah, and that's the thing is it is very easy. I do it all the time. It's easy to forget that like uh people can't tell intention through text as easily.
Exactly.
And that's
Right.
what I say all the time whenever I tweet. Like, look, I'm not as much of an asshole as I sound on Twitter.
Yeah.
You're not trying to be. It's like, you say something, you send it, you're like, they probably didn't get that, or I probably didn't
Yeah.
phrase that the right way, and then it's like, oh well, like,
Yeah.
what are you gonna do?
Yeah, exactly. What are you gonna do? There's nothing you can do. It's just, hey, it is what it is. That person took it wrong, or sometimes you take it wrong.
Yeah.
You know, and you respond accordingly. Well, not accordingly, but sometimes you just lose yourself because maybe you're having a bad day.
Mhm.
You're already flustered because of something else that flustered you, and so you just take it out on, on the person who got back to you. So you just never know with these things. That's why I always stay away from it, and that's why I save all the drama and I put it in my stories.
Yeah.
That's where they belong. They belong in the stories. And that's what the Ghetto Dragon really is. Really, when you look at Ghetto Dragon, it's pretty much how social media works. It's the back and forth escalation between two people or two groups of people in the story, not wanting to back down.
And it's understandable to some degree. And I think that's what you wove well into, especially the villains. You didn't go out and directly, but you can understand, as you explained from your own life experience, you understand why people are in this thing.
Yeah. Right.
Now, there's obviously stuff that they're doing that no human being should do.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
But you also understand like why the guy that's on the street slinging something just to make a profit's doing it.
Right.
And then he gets his like head cracked open by some kid that knows judo.
Yeah.
Well, $25, 70 pages, full color.
Full color.
That's a great deal, man. I think we did something close. I think we did 25 for 100 pages, black and white. 25 for 70 pages.
That's a fantastic deal, actually.
Yeah, and it was cheaper because black and white. But I'm saying you did this full color and for 70 pages. That's impressive because there are people that would have charged like $30-$35 for that.
Yeah, I almost did that, but I decided, you know what? Honestly, the book is done. Really,
yeah,
it's completely done,
awesome.
as you've seen. So
yeah,
that's why I decided. Well, I'll just see. The economy is pretty bad. People are not really spending, so maybe I could do a price point where I could still benefit from it because obviously I need to keep the lights on. I want to keep this going. I want to keep writing comics, and I know that revenue is needed for that thing to keep on going. Because I have to pay out. I'm a producer of comics, so I have to kind of be the publisher of my own books. I have to get the budget. I have to hire the artists. I have to hire the people to help me make the image, the vision I have here onto paper, into the material. And it's a tough process because, artists who get your script may have a different interpretation to what you have in your head. And that's the toughest part about, collaborating in comics.
It is, and it's not easy. I mean, I don't want to go off on run a rabbit through too much because I want people to buy your book. But I'm very blessed to be working with Josh because I've just known the guy for like 10 years. But when I step back and think, like, good Lord, how would I relayed this to someone else?
Right.
Then you can start appreciating, like, oh God, like the guys who do have to do this.
Yeah, exactly.
Not me, of course, but
yeah. You have to, they have to sit down and actually come up with the imagery.
Yeah,
for you.
I'm being a Jane Fonda who missed breakfast. Like, oh, I get the Ethiopian kids now. This is how they feel all the time.
Oh, Jane.
I think didn't she betray didn't she betray American soldiers in Vietnam or something like that?
I think so.
Rat them out?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's I don't know the full story. I don't know the full story behind that, but I think that's what happened.
I should be laughing at that.
Yeah.
I love that you kept this simple. I'm gonna be honest, man, because I don't love like
Yeah.
30 different pledges, 30 different things. Because like by the time I've read them all, I've forgotten what the last 5 were.
Yeah, no, likewise. That's why I want to keep things simple and keep it within theme. You know, white belt, brown belt, black belt. Black belt is you get all 3 books, so you get the Van Damme cover, what I call, and
that's
then
the
you get
wraparound
the
cover.
No, that's the wraparound cover. The Van Damme cover is the regular cover where he's doing the split kicks, the split kick with the 3 guys, and the cover.
Right here. That one. It's a great cover.
Yeah, thank you. It's drawn by Comic Ken on Twitter. He's the guy behind this image. He, I mean, killed it. I liked his work before, so I reached out to him and you know, he and I went back and forth on the idea, and then he came up with this, and I was like, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was looking for. And so yeah, great cover by Comic Ken on Twitter. Give him a follow. He's someone who you should keep an eye on comics.
It depends on how he feels about Snyderverse.
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, I haven't asked him that. I'd be curious to know how he feels about Snyderverse. So yeah, the white belt is just that book is 70 pages. And the second tier is the brown belt, which is the wraparound foil cover drawn by Afu-chan. You know what? Let me give you a close up on that one. Give me a second. Right. Let me pull it up here so you guys can see a closer look of that project. Let's see, where is it?
I just need to start sending you the link, man. You can just come on and talk with us.
Yeah, dude. If I could, I would. If I have time, because I know obviously I'm busy for a lot of the time. But if I have free time, yeah, I'll definitely hop on one day on your show. And
you as well, yeah.
Here we go.
Well, I get it. You're a father, correct?
Yeah.
I completely understand.
Yeah. So you know too, then, right?
Oh yeah. I got a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, and
I have a 6-year-old and a 1-year-old.
Ooh. So was the 1-year-old on purpose? Just to be because I wasn't. I was a total like 7-year gap, like accident baby.
The second one was on purpose. Yes, it was. Yes, she was.
Okay.
Screen. Oh, here we go. There we go. Here's a close up.
Nice.
So the wraparound cover is gonna look like this.
That is great, man.
Yeah, foil shiny cover, drawn by Afu-chan. And he's in this dojo.
That perspective is really cool.
Oh man, he killed it. I laid out this image, and he took it, and when I totally got it, and this is what he gave me. I was like, dude, you beautiful. This is exactly what I was thinking of. So you did it just 10 times better than what I came up with in the head. Yeah, this is going to be the wraparound cover. It's going to wrap around. Virgin cover, no logo, nothing. It's just going to be this. And then the third is going to be. Let me just stop sharing here real quick. The third tier, the black belt tier, is you get the wraparound cover, the foil cover, this cover, and the third book, which is the Ashcan, the graphite edition of book 2, titled Fistful of Glory. It's the title of the second book.
And I recommend that, guys. I really do, because I've read the Ashcan. You call it an Ashcan. It's 40 pages.
Yeah, it's it's one of the things that have you heard of a Neff, a Global Frequency?
No.
Okay, well, Neff is a writer of a comic book project. Oh gosh, I can't remember the name of Maverick is the name of the comic book project. Cool dude, a major staple in the indie comic book scene. Very cool dude. I was on this live stream one day, and he pretty much took me up to task and schooled me on how to properly use not social media, crowdfunding. And he says you got to do something special in order for people to want to back your book. And so I thought 40 pages, hell, you know what? Let's do it. Screw it. Why not give you as much for your dollar, and not do the give you a little for the most amount of money. Let me try to give you as much as I can with the money I'm asking for, because it's a lot to ask for, not just for me, but for everyone in general, because we all want to make it, right? We all want to make it in life, and we all want to have some kind of glory or leave something behind when we leave this place. Here we go. Right, and the cover by Rich Ayala, which is this beautiful cover.
Nice. Here. Oh, that shadow dragon.
Yeah, dude, isn't that great? Rich
Ayala,
what I'm
talking about. Like, what a great combination again of like Eastern and South American and American culture.
And I love the shark shadows here in the ground. Nice touch here. And the characters are just, he just went crazy. I just went, okay, look, I just want a cover where he's behind the, back to the wall, fist up, and he's surrounded by all these people who want to, kick his butt. And so he gave me this guy with this goofy tiger jacket, which I
love the Plague Doctor mask in the back top left. I mean,
which one? This one here?
Yeah. Like this guy could be doing Ninja Turtles.
Yeah, absolutely, dude. 100%. That's exactly what I think. That's what he was going for. See, here's the Big Trouble in Little China.
My son had a helmet on just like that today. Around
really?
Like a plastic that like the segregated side.
And then here's a guy with the Ninja Turtle mask right here, which I thought was cool. But yeah, this will be the cover for the graphite edition.
That's what's also exciting about your book is that you've sprinkled in the tiny elements of the supernatural where this thing could scale up very easily and it would make sense.
Yes, that's the intention and the idea. I just want to see the reaction from readers. That's all going to depend on the kind of feedback I get if I do reach the goal and I'm able to fulfill. I would like to actually hear back from people who backed it and read it and hear, is this something that you guys would enjoy? And if not, then maybe I'll just, it's just one of those things where, I can just write off, and move on. But that's it. That's what you'll get for those three tiers. So either you can either get the book by itself, the wraparound cover, or all three. And it will only be available in the Kickstarter. Because after the Kickstarter closes, if I reach my goal, Ghetto Dragon Book 1 is going to go into print on demand, and I'm going to sell it in the manga size cut. In print on demand. So, price point will be lower, obviously, because it'll be cheaper paper, and the quality of the book will be a little lower, but accessible price wise, and it'll be available, print on demand. So you'll still have a chance to have a copy. However, these prints here, the white belt, brown belt, and black belt, will only be available here on Kickstarter. So get your copy because it won't be available after this.
And I've read all of this, guys, and I would recommend this not just because I respect Julius and have him here on the show. If you have the cash, go for the black belt too, because I've read the Ash Can and the art is fantastic in it. And who's the artist for that, by the way?
The artist for the second book is Chepe Rios. He's an artist based off Mexico. And honestly, man, I've been blessed, honestly, because the first book,
all these guys whose names I can't pronounce.
Yeah. Well, you can pronounce Alan Fletcher.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know, man. I'm real Southern.
No, that's true. But you can still pronounce it. Alan Fletcher. One of the reasons why he took on the project was not only because he wanted, he had someone who would teach him the ropes, quote unquote. He was also a huge Bruce Lee fan, which was a plus. When I pitched him Ghetto Dragon, he was like, "Dude, stop! I love Bruce Lee. I'm a huge fan of his movies. I'm in. So great." Chepe Rios for you, for the Southern dialect. Rios. He and I were supposed to work on another project. It was supposed to be a totally different project. We got about 8 pages in, which was tragic because I wasted all that money for nothing, but whatever. 8 pages in, he sends me an email telling me, "Hey man, I just came across this website. It's a website in we have here in Mexico where it's like a platform for web comics, kind of like webtoons, but it's based off Mexico. And yeah, I started reading this one story, and it's really similar to what we're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, how similar are we talking here? Because I was thinking, well, maybe we could angle some stuff or change some stuff here and there to kind of keep it away. But Dan, it's one of those things where I just don't. It's just so mind blowing because he sent me the link to the page, to this artist page that he had up for since 2000, and I think he produced the story in 2019, and it was already 2023, I believe, when he and I started working together. So I started reading it, and not the first page, not the second, 3 pages, 3, 4, 5, and 6, Dan, were almost identical sequential wise as to what happens with the character. And I remember I was reading, I was going, no way. and granted, I never heard of this story. I never heard of this website. I never even heard of this particular artist who wrote and drew this story that Chep and I were working on together. It was like an Aztec center story. It was going to be like this whole thing with Quetzalcoatl and the whole spiel there. And I was reading it over and over and going, how in the heck did this happen? And I'll tell you what it was. It was the character is running away. My story was the character is kidnapped from, remember the migrants that were coming to the U.S. On the trains and everything and from Central America to Mexico?
Yep.
So it takes place there where one of the kids it's a preteen. He's in train. The federales show up, stop the train. They arrest the people that are on the train, and he's taken in the van. And it turns out the federales were crooked, and they sold off those people to the cartels in the jungles. Oof. And they used these people for slave labor. The preteen escapes. He runs, he hides in the cave. He falls in. It's an underground lake. And when he gets and he swims out of the lake, it's in land. He's inside this big cave, and he's this huge door, and it's all supposed to be like advanced technology, right? So the door opens, and he finds an emblem that gives him the power that he becomes this superhero, right? This guy's story was similar. The only difference was it was a kid living with his single mother. And the cartel show up to her house and try to take the kid to use as a soldier for their cartel. He runs away in the jungle, falls into an underground lake, swims out, and he gets to these big doors, but it's magical though.
Yeah.
It's a magical emblem where ours was going to be a pure sci-fi angle to it. And I'm telling you, Dan, it was like, dude, this is the craziest thing that's ever happened to me. And so, of course, we scratched. I was like, no, dude, we're not doing this no more. Like, I don't want people to think that I stole this guy's idea. So we totally scrapped it. And since I was already looking for a Ghetto Dragon artist at that time, I asked him, hey, well, I have Ghetto Dragon. Do you want to do this? And I'm thinking no, because I've seen his work and he likes doing superhero stuff, luchador stuff. Mm-hmm. And so when I pitched him Ghetto Dragon, he's like, dude, I love Bruce Lee. Yes. I was like, great. Let's do it then. And so that's how I got Chepe to draw Ghetto Dragon. But I mean, you've read book 2, so mm-hmm. You could tell when an artist is really excited to draw a story. And Chepe has been just delivering like just banger after banger of a page. He sent me a few pages actually earlier today, and it's just like, oh man, I really can't wait for you guys to see what I have in store for book 2.
He did one panel where it was a reflection inside of an eye, like an eyeball.
Yeah.
That like made me stop. I had to like stop and like look at it and like oh, what's in that? Like, he actually had to like look at it, like, and it was like I've got it on this big screen back here when I was reading it, and I was like, oh man, like I could see like the detail he had put into it. Yeah. And what was really impressive to me was how he did it with so little lines, with so few lines.
Right. Yeah.
So I actually had to like study it. And I was like, that's really cool. Like that was almost like a not impressionist, but I forget the word I'm looking for. But he gave all this detail with like very little work, and I was like, oh man, that's really cool.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. He's been seriously yeah, like I said, I've just been blessed to be able to find these artists who are you know, ready and willing to work with me, because that's the one thing that I'm sure you've experienced with this. When you find an artist and you hire them and you could just tell they're not into it, and they're giving you kind of subpar work because they're just not excited about your story. Have you ever had that experience before in your past when you try to get another comic book project done?
no, but I did go to prom, so I get it.
So, okay, so you know the feeling.
I know rejection. Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at me.
So the fact that I've been honestly, I'm grateful that lately I've been finding artists who are excited to draw the stories I've written.
Yeah.
And so Chepe is definitely one artist who is extremely excited to draw this story, and I hope you guys do back the black belt, because it is the full package. It's the whole thing. You'll get all the preview of book 2, because of course I'm going to start inking it soon once the pencils are done. Pencils are about, I would say, maybe 89% done. So we still got about 10% of the pencils done left for book 2. And then we're going to start inking it and coloring it. It's already lettered, as you know.
Yeah.
So it's just a matter of getting it colored and inked at this point.
Yeah, and again, I would reiterate that if you guys have the cash, do the black belt tier, because the book itself, book 1, read it, it's good. The Ash Can, good, and they're both a cohesive story within themselves, and they go together. That's what's really interesting about it, is that it's a proper prequel / sequel. It actually flows well. It doesn't feel like you just jump, don't know what's going on, and then leaves you hanging. That's been
Right.
I'm not going to go on a rant, but that's been the biggest problem with a lot of comic series. Like I was given I had Uncanny X-Force. I had that whole run, the Remender run, and so much of that is like, that's my big beef with like monthly comics and like mainstream comics is it's so disorganized. I know it's supposed to be the same story, but the way they release it, and people are always they're always working on different projects when they're doing it. It's just, you can tell when something's disjointed. And
Yeah.
the cool thing
Right.
about indies like this, like you can go chapter, book
Yeah.
1, bam, book 2. I just and I wanted to leave on this, if you don't mind, and this is something I've been trying to, when I find a good writer, I like to ask, like, what and it's kind of like a challenge. Like, what else are you working on? Like, what are you like? There's the whole world's out there. We've got books, we've got like audio dramas now. We've got all like screenplays.
Yeah.
You said what
Yeah.
what else? Not just to shill what you can sell. What are you like challenged to work on now?
Ooh, good question. If you scroll down this page,
Mm-hmm.
right there, bam, Samuel Zion, PI. And PI does not stand for private investigator. It stands for paranormal interrogator.
Oh wow! Look at this.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so it's
that's
just 2
great.
pages
The
here.
red, black,
It's
and white.
yeah, it's this was the see the thing about me and wanting to and wanting to write for comics is that grounded stories is new for me, actually, because just if you read comics for as long as I have, you want to produce high concept stories.
Mm-hmm.
That's the whole point, so this is the first this is the first story where I'm actually actively gonna do that. And Samuel Zion is a story that I had developed about 2 years ago. I had this idea of one day I was really I worked for a big telecommunication company years ago, and by the 5th year I was there, I've had it. I just had it. I had to get out of there, and I was miserable for that last year because, of course, it was tough for me to look for a job during that time, and so I was stuck with this job. And one day I just wrote, in my journal of ideas of like, I'm gonna write this anti-hero character who doesn't do things heroically. He does it because he has to. He has no choice. It's almost like it's an employee who's stuck at their job. They can't go anywhere else. And so after that, I started developing it more and more and more. And eventually came to what we have here, which is the story is that he was a common thief during the days of King Solomon.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's great.
Yeah, and so he breaks into his temple, Solomon's temple, and he's looking for gold with his colleague or his partner in crime. And he accidentally knocks over one of the cabinets that was holding all these flasks that had these evil entities in them.
Yeah.
And when he releases them, of course, King Solomon's guards catch him, and King Solomon being who he was in the Bible. And also, again, like I said, when I researched the occult, they also have like their own version of King Solomon, which I found interesting.
With his rings and how he subdued
the
demons. Yeah,
exactly. So I was like, whoa, that's a thing. I had no idea. So I took that and I went, okay. And so what King Solomon does, he curses him and says, you now are going to walk the earth as an immortal until you could collect these entities you released, and you have to bring them back here. And the whole story, the whole story is pretty much him going, yeah, right, I ain't gonna do that. I'm immortal. But then he finds out that there's a catch. There's a catch to this gift.
Yeah.
And he avoids the responsibility for thousands of years until finally he just decides, you know what? I'm done. I'm tired of pain.
Yeah.
My life is nothing but pain every day, and not just physical pain, the mental pain, the spiritual pain. So now he's doing this out of necessity. He's not doing it because he wants to save the world. He's not doing this because he wants to, be a good person. He's doing this strictly because he's just tired of living. That's
great. Because that, again, that's a more old school way of thinking. And I really, really, that twist, that kind of like a grin twist of this guy thought he was smarter than the wisest man that ever lived.
Yes. yes. Exactly right.
Yeah, that's super interesting, and I love this art, and I love this layout here, especially like this panel here, this sideways kind of look, and the way I'm a sucker for this kind of lettering, like this, doing away with the boxes and just incorporating it into the art. That's great.
Yeah, it felt natural to do that. Originally, I did put narration boxes there, but yeah, like you just said, it just didn't look right to me, and I was like, maybe I'll just do border like no boxes, and so there you go. Here it is. Here, let me share it so you can have more pages. I want to share with you this a few more pages than what you're seeing here. So yeah, here's the cover.
There we go.
Here's page 1. You saw that. We've seen this one already. And so here's page 3. The artist is Greg Warrenchak. He's the artist who drew Acid 13, a webcomic that I currently have on Global Comics. And after
I think I've actually read that because when I first met you, I think I actually read that one.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Because the title is very familiar. I know I've seen it on your site.
It's called the Acid 13, The Last Thanksgiving. And he and I worked really well together. And I was like, maybe I should ask this guy if he wants to draw this story. And so I pitched him the story, and he was like, yeah, you know what? Let's do it. I'm down. So
he's a great artist.
He is. He's really good. And I know some people have come to me privately and told me like, yeah, maybe if you had a better artist, it might. It might come out better, but I was like, well, it's charming. I like his art. It's
great art. What's the problem?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe a lot of readers are spoiled and they want higher quality art, which is understandable. But
high quality art.
Yeah, for me, it's like, well, he has the fundamentals down of sequential storytelling, and that's what I look for in an artist. If you have the sequentials, I mean, look at this. I love this right here that he did that.
Well, man, people still try to tell me that Steve Vai was better than Eddie Van Halen. I was like, no, he's not.
Yeah. Yeah, no way.
Eddie rules.
Eddie rules, man, forever. He's the guy that came first. So he rules.
This is great. I think a lot of stuff, man, this is another stuff, but I think a lot of it is like name recognition. I think if a guy like Mike Mignola put out Hellboy tomorrow, people would complain about the art and say the art looks great. What are you talking about? You
Yeah,
just don't know the name Mike Mignola, so that's why you're complaining about
and that goes to your point earlier about subjectivity, right? Objectivity
Yep.
and subjectivity. There's various levels of
Mhm.
objective great art. It's just a matter of which signal you pick up on, right? And I totally understand that. I totally understand that people prefer the Jim Lee style of art. Some other people prefer the Frank Quietly. Some people
Oh,
prefer...
okay. That's another point of contention. I hate Frank Quietly.
Really? Oh, dude, I love Frank Quietly. He's one of my favorites.
After he drew the X-Men with Down syndrome for like 40 issues, I was done with that dude, man. I'm telling you, new X-Men. I got so tired of seeing the potato-headed like Professor X. Like,
I see. No, I love Frank Quietly. He's one of my favorite artists. But I understand. I New X-Men got a lot of hate. I didn't mind New X-Men, but I totally understood why a lot of the X-Men fans, the hardcore ones, hated that whole series, and I totally get that. But yeah, it's this is where he finally goes after his first entity.
See, I love how he's got the physics and the world bending kind of like this fisheye lens.
Yeah, it's because he enters the mirror world. So he sits down, and then right here is when he's inside it. And yeah, like you're right. This is all Greg's doing. Greg just took the script and went, hey, what do you think about this? And I was like, dude, this is perfect. This is exactly how I imagined it. Yeah, very bendy, very like odd. And here it is.
That's great.
The first entity.
Man, we've got to talk about this. Like, I've got my buddy Brody that's on the show now as a co-host, and I'd love to talk some of this esoteric stuff with you. I'm not an occultist, but
neither am I.
Yeah, I guess what I'm saying, like, not that I don't practice it, but like I don't know it, enough to always talk about it. But it intrigues me, and I've got some of the stuff over here, and I love that kind of idea of I would love to talk to discuss the esoteric with you, and it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think, like I said, if there's a day where I'm available, I'll be more than happy to join in and talk about that. Because I did my a lot of research again, just out of curiosity, just pure curiosity. It's like it's like that scene. I remember that scene from Harry Potter. I believe it was the Half-Blood Prince.
Were they wearing jeans?
No. It was I think it was the Half-Blood Prince. Is when which is the one where the professor is the one that reveals that he's the one that helped
Voldemort. Yeah, that's Half-Blood Prince. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So do you remember when that line he says, "Oh, this is just strictly for research purposes," right?
Yeah.
And that when he said that, I was like, "That's my guy right there." that's why
strictly for research, of course.
Strictly for research purposes. Because my mom, God bless her, she when she would come over and see the books that I had in the library, she'd be like, "Oh my God, are you?" She would like freaked out. And I was like, "No, Mom, no, it's okay, it's all right." You're like, "No, I'm not gonna convert. It's just strictly for research purposes." Okay.
She kept sending you crucifixes. You got like a whole wall of them.
I was like, don't worry. But yeah, I would love to just just let me know in advance and I'll try to make it. But yeah, this is kind of Samuel Zion is pretty much all the research it's going to go in here in this story.
Man, that's great.
Yeah,
this is interesting stuff, man. Like I can't wait to see, like, where can I pick up a copy of this?
This is currently on my Substack, but it's the paid wall. It's the what I call the Lucid Lounge. It's $5 a month.
Gotcha.
First month is free if you join it, but you will have access to this story. Right now, I currently have, I think, 12 pages up on it, and every week I'm gonna try to deliver a page a week. Because Greg,
I've seen you do. I've been seeing you do that on Substack.
Yeah, and my free one, I gotta get back on that because I did enjoy, writing essays on that free one. I just gotta, again, it's time. It's the time that I need, to get that done. But
when this you say essays, you mean writing or you mean friends?
Friends,
so I can keep up.
those days are over with my friends.
Yeah, you're married, right?
It's yeah,
You don't have
exactly.
friends.
So whenever it's funny you say that, because whenever my wife does go out of town to visit family, because she has family that lives out of town, and so whenever she does go and take the kids, the first thing I do is like, hey man, what you doing? What do you want to hang out? What
No,
are you
no,
doing?
I'm still here.
I'm here. Let's go. Let's get some beers. Let's hang out, and watch the game, and hang out like old times. But yeah, this is what I'm working on right now. I'm really happy. I'm really excited about this one too, because I'm again, it's fully developed, it's fully done. I know what's going to happen. It's a finite story. It's not going to be an ongoing. It's going to finish, and I'm hoping Greg, the artist, will stay on as long as he can. But if not, then yeah, I'm going to have to look for various artists to draw the stories that I have regarding this character. So yeah, that's what I've been working. That's what I'm working on right now, man. Other than the Ghetto Dragon is this story here, Samuel Zeon. I am also working on a screenplay as well, and that one I'm really happy with as well. But I'm still working on it. Still a lot of stuff that needs to be fixed in that screenplay. That's
awesome, man. Well, I'm gonna let you go for tonight. I would like to holler at you real quick in the back room, if you got a second.
Yeah.
But everyone, go back this book. I would suggest the Black Belt tier. I've read both of these books. I recommend them. Julius is a great writer.
Thank
His
you.
artist did great work. It's a story you can enjoy on its own. It definitely has potential to grow into something bigger. And like I said, cooler, big, supernatural. Go read it. Julius, thank you so much for being on, man.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.